Stop debating power levels. Simple as that. Dragon Ball has a very particular fan base. They all love to argue over the most superficial parts of the series.
I should preface this by saying, I love Dragon Ball. I loved it when I was a kid, just like everyone else. And since then, I've watched or read virtually every piece of official content that went along with it.
All the shows, movies, a bunch of games, and most of the manga. I'm not making any case against the series itself. I'm just making a case about the fanbase, because so many of its viewers either cannot or will not see past the surface level debates that arise from its plot. I'm of course talking about power scaling.
Even further beyond!
For the unaware, power scaling is a way of determining a character's power level by comparing them to other characters. It sounds pretty simple. If Mario is stronger than Luigi, and Luigi is stronger than Bowser, we can assume that Mario is stronger than Bowser by the law of transitivity. But actually, if you ask the fanbase, you'll see that wasn't the case at all. If you remember from this obscure piece of media that only I know about, a line of dialogue from Mario suggests that
blah 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 blah. This is the situation that I face in the Dragon Ball community on an almost daily basis.
And honestly, I don't blame people for doing it at all. The show clearly creates situations that garner debate. There's nothing wrong with trying to figure out if one person is stronger than another, but I just think that people care way too much about it, to the point that some of the meaning of those situations is lost on people. I get that you might care about who's stronger, but did you ever even look at the narrative significance of that fight? You know, the series isn't just mindless fighting for 500 episodes. There's at least a little bit of a plot. Taking a look online, you barely even have to search before finding a video or forum thread explaining the power level of a character. In these videos, they'll give the most contrived argument, pulling evidence out of their ass, making the most absurd inferences, just for their argument to get invalidated by more info that comes out later. If you're going to make an objective argument about power scaling, the only evidence you can use is info directly stated or implied from the actual source material.
Let me reiterate the part about this being an objective argument, objective to the series alone and none of its surrounding media.
That means we're not looking at any author interviews, promotional material, or any other crap like that. We can only use what's in the official release. Now, if you want to expand the argument to a more subjective view, then sure, go ahead and take what Akira Toriyama said into account. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions and theories, which is an amazing part of any art form. But there are a few major issues with making objective claims about a series, which I'm going to delve into deeper now. I should add that although I'm mainly talking about Dragon Ball, this applies to a lot of media, so keep that in mind. You might find it backwards that I said you shouldn't even look at anything Toriyama said when talking objectively. He's the one who wrote the series itself, why wouldn't you look at what he said? True, the author's word is the closest thing you can get to their actual intention of the story. But author intention, while counterintuitive, isn't objective to the actual series. It's not part of the official release. The official release is the way the series was portrayed, regardless of what the author wanted. That's why I need to make the distinction between objective and subjective ideas. You can have the opinion that Orange Piccolo is stronger than Moro, but based on the current official release, you just can't reliably tell who's stronger without expanding your sources of evidence. And those outside sources are too unreliable to then make an objective claim. Imagine if Shigeru Miyamoto came out and said that he actually meant for Mario to be Islamic this whole time, but it just wasn't shown in the games. Can you then infer that Luigi is also Islamic? There isn't evidence for it in the games, so there's no way to tell if that's true either. Maybe you can make a claim about Luigi, but it's not like we even knew that Mario was Islamic while playing. It's a piece of outside info, and it doesn't even change anything in the game. Mario still just wants to save the princess. Now let's shift this to Dragon Ball. Toriyama implied that Orange Piccolo is as strong as Goku and Vegeta, but you still can't reliably gauge that from watching the movie. Even if we did know that for sure, it wouldn't change anything from the movie or the rest of the series. So instead, the proper thing to do is just not look at any of the info Toriyama gave us. Let's just say that we don't know what Mario's religion is. Since we're on the topic of official release, let's bring up the next point. I think a lot of people take it for granted that all the foreign series we love weren't originally written in English. Sometimes I'll get completely tripped up over dialogue. Maybe a sentence will make no sense to me, or will use an analogy that I don't understand. I have to take a second to remember that I'm reading a translation of a series. And that's a hard truth about translation, that there are just some things you can't directly translate. It's a little quirk of language that causes a lot of misunderstanding. Because of this, a lot of the nuance or regional ideas are lost, so it's always important to take every line with a tiny grain of salt. A great example of this would be from the original Pokemon anime.
You look kind of down, Ash. Huh? Have a donut. That always cheers me up. Pika pika!
These donuts are great! Jelly-filled are my favorite! Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut!
In this now famous scene, Brock calls an onigiri a jelly-filled donut. I'm assuming this was done because American kids may not know what an onigiri is, so they changed it. Now this looks nothing like a jelly-filled donut, but it gets the job done. Of course, I don't mean any criticism towards the translators themselves, because it usually isn't their fault. It's just too difficult to concisely translate everything. Now if the original author decided to give up and not draw anything, then it wouldn't be as much of an issue. This problem only gets exacerbated when a series gets adapted into a show. When you're translating for a show, you have to keep in mind an American, or whatever country you're translating to, background. Sometimes they have to change major dialogue because it wouldn't make any sense otherwise. It could also be that the translators aren't great either. They slip up and it happens. So how does Dragon Ball fare? Not well at all. Every release has some glaring issues that hold it back from being accurate. The manga has issues, DBZ Kai makes various changes, and no iteration of the original dub gets it right. Most notably, there's the infamous
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
Originally it was over 8,000, but we've all heard this before, so I won't even bother. The Dragon Ball Super dub is okay for the most part, but it still has its flaws. With all this inaccuracy, you'd think the fans would stick to the source with the best translations, but no. They'll go ahead and use evidence from the dubs, fan translations, or just make stuff up. The only way to get the perfectly accurate experience of how the series was written is to read it in the original language, in this case, Japanese. And I'm not trying to say that the only way you should experience the series is through the manga. My preferred version is the original Funimation dub. I personally like that portrayal of Goku more, along with the music, dialogue, and actual voice actors. I'm just saying that if you actually want to compare the powers the way they were meant to be, you'd look at the original canon portrayal of the series. Oh, I almost forgot. That brings us to the biggest reason: canon doesn't mean anything. In fiction, canon is anything that's accepted as part of the actual continuity of a series. The author will usually give a rundown or explanation of what's official and what isn't, but that's not always the case. A great example would be the Half-Life series. Mark Laidlaw, who wrote the majority of the Half-Life games, never actually explained what's canon. His stance is that canon itself is non-canon in Half-Life. So you have 3 expansions that may or may not be in the universe. Even though they add so much world building, you can't truly tell if they took place together. With Dragon Ball, Toriyama has stated that the Dragon Ball manga, which composes what Westerners know as Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, Toyotaro's Dragon Ball Super manga, and a few other projects are considered canon. Okay then, why does everyone just disregard that? Fans will cite every piece of existing media related to Dragon Ball, just cherry-picking the evidence that helps their points. They'll use the anime, not canon. Toriyama has always said that they botched the portrayal of Goku. Doesn't matter if it's subbed or dubbed, they're both wrong. They'll cite the games, not canon. Toriyama had zero influence over the games. They add cool world-building ideas, sure, but they have no effect on the main story. Even if fans did only look at the canon material, it wouldn't change the fact that Toriyama doesn't care about the story he's telling in the first place. Power levels weren't formally introduced to the series until the start of Dragon Ball Z, during the Saiyan Saga. Before that, it was just about martial arts. Conveniently, right after Frieza, power levels already mean nothing. The androids can't be sensed by the Z fighters, and they use completely different energy than them anyways. It gets worse though, because Cell was also an android, but the Z fighters can sense him no problem. Toriyama just pulls new explanations out of his ass. He famously wrote the series with almost no planning at all. He just figured out where the plot should go week by week, and made changes whenever he screwed up. Originally, androids 19 and 20 were supposed to be the only ones. His editors made fun of the designs, so he added 17 and 18. His editors made fun of them too, so he added Cell. And his editors probably had a field day until he made Super Perfect Cell. The manga was originally a gag series. Goku would literally break through page panels. Toriyama is too lazy to actually define the rules of his series, and that's why canon means nothing. If you want to look at the Saiyan Saga, sure, go ahead and use those power levels as evidence. If you want to look at the Granola Saga, perfect. Listen to Vegeta saying that power has nothing to do with winning the fight in the first place. Or go ahead and look at a game. Dragon Ball Z Saga shows that the androids don't have measurable power levels. My whole point here is that the only canon that makes sense in the series is headcanon. The only way to make a valid argument is to follow your own rules, because the defined ones don't make sense to begin with. Can he beat Goku? That's always what it comes down to. No matter what's happening in the series, it always comes back to that golden question. The fans are just too delusional to care about anything else. It's not like the entire fan base is like this, but a good portion of people are. And I also understand the fact that many people would say the story in Dragon Ball is the least important part. In a show that's constantly trying to top itself, seemingly always aiming for bigger and bigger outcomes, it's easy to forget that the show still has a message to send. But for me, the story is what always made the show great. The fact that it was a true adventure from start to finish. So much so that my headcanon includes GT and not Super as a bittersweet ending to the series. But most people won't understand that. They only care about the fights. Here's your average interaction with a Dragon Ball fan. Can Beast Gohan beat Goku? Well, I don't know. The dialogue is a little too vague to tell for sure. Let's wait until the manga finishes the superhero movie. Actually, Beast Gohan is confirmed to be stronger than him. You're so dumb. Oh, okay. Sure then, yeah, you're right. Can Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta beat Super Saiyan 5 Hercule? What? Super Saiyan 5 was from Dragon Ball AF. That's not even like officially licensed. And Mr. Satan isn't even a Saiyan. What are you talking about? Oh my god, look at this goofy ass. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta is killing him, no tucks. Okay, screw it. I got one. Can Goku beat Senator Armstrong? Not a chance. Armstrong has the advantage of
Nanomachine, son!
And even if he loses his limbs, he can just put them back on. Actually, nanomachines don't make him invincible, so that's wrong. Super Sonic could totally beat Goku, though. No, he can't. Goku beat Sonic in that Smash Bros. Mod I played. And that's canon. We know he wins. Goku is beating Saitama, low diff. Wrong again. Murata said that he doesn't know who is stronger. I win. What about Mario versus Krillin? Vegeta versus Luigi. Luigi versus Burger King employee. Hey guys, do you think All Might can beat Goku? Bruh. Oh, come on, the storytelling. Hey guys, do you think All Might can beat Goku? Please, just stop. Can you not look past that? Dragon Ball is this amazing, emotional journey with growth, insane fights, and awesome characters. Why does it seem like nobody talks about the storytelling, about the art? It's always just arguing over crap. You can have whatever canon you want. You can believe whoever you want is the strongest. But please, stop telling me that Mario is Islamic. The same quiz game shows Mario being Jewish. It was an officially licensed product. That doesn't mean it's officially canon to the Mario universe.